energy and compete. And I thought our guys competed to the final whistle.
Quarterback Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions in the game and was asked what happened to the Packers offense in losses to Minnesota, Chicago, and now Philadelphia.
I'm not sure. It's something that we'll look at and figure out in the offseason to clean up. But, it's pretty much just comes down to executing and making plays out there. And just wasn't good enough.
NBA, the Bucks losing to the Knicks 140-106. New York's Jalen Brunson with 41 points. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy and colder tonight to low near 0, wind chills 10 to 20 below. Sunny and highs in the mid-teens for tomorrow. Warmer for the rest of the week, mostly sunny and a high in the mid-20s Wednesday, near 40 Thursday and Friday. Currently, we're at 8.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Here's what the WSJ had said after J6. This week has probably finished Donald Trump as a serious political figure. Boy, that hasn't aged well, has it?
No, not at all. In the Wall Street Journal. So after what they just said 4 years ago, Maggie, they couldn't bring it upon themselves to say that guy who did that shouldn't be anywhere near the White House again. Nope, couldn't do it.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. Earl Ingram.
Join me on the next show. Sandy Williams will be here to talk about what to expect from the Trump administration.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
And now, a guy who likes to talk trash, but only when he's at the dump, Pete Schwaba.
Good evening, my fellow Wisconsinites. So great to be with you on this balmy Monday night here in the state of Wisconsin. A little chilly out there. Hopefully you can warm your night a little bit as you leave the day behind and, be part of the show. We'll talk about some movies and TV tonight, maybe a little sports, some comedy, music. We're doing it all, and we're doing it on a very cold night. What better night to sit in and listen or watch the radio, for that matter? Gather the family around, do it old school. Dad can put his pipe in. Mom can bring hot cocoa, and the kids can sprawl around the radio and listen to Nightlight. It's great to have you with me wherever you are joining us from in the great state of Wisconsin. We are broadcasting live from downtown Green Bay here at beautiful City Deck Landing. It is 8 degrees, Conrad, in Green Bay.
Yeah, not great.
I thought we were double digits. I can live with double digits. It's the single digits that really, I'm not going to lie, it really ticks me off.
Yeah, and there's a wind chill too. It's just.
What's the wind chill?
I don't know. I'm just what I felt out there before.
No, I mean,
it was
what
cold.
does that mean? What does wind chill mean? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, how you doing, bud? Did you have a good weekend?
It was good until Sunday.
Oh man! All right, put a button on the season for me. Let's get this out of the way. We'll have Mike on, I hope, at some point this week. Mike Clemens, our Civic Media Sports Authority, to kind of put a bow on the season. But yeah, again, they made the playoffs. Good team. I would imagine as a Packer fan, you're incredibly frustrated.
Well, I wasn't going into this game expecting like a win per se, because the Eagles are just a great team.
Yeah.
But just the performance we put out there, it looked like no one wanted to be out on that football field.
It was a little lackluster. I will admit that as well.
Also, a lot of injuries on that. I think the total at the end of the game was like 8 people for the Packers went out.
Listen, I pulled a hammy watching the game. It was just bad all the way around for people from Wisconsin. No, it was. Every time you turned around, it looked like there was a Packer on the floor or on the ground, being injured. So not a good day for the Packers. But who's catching the most heat? LaFleur or Love?
I mean, I've been on Twitter for, I don't know why. I've been...
Because you just like to be ticked off. Yeah, I get it.
And a lot of people are blaming Love, but it's like, it's his second year. He's been dealing with injuries all season. He didn't have a wide receiver for half of that game, pretty much. He had to go to the fourth and fifth string receivers. Tucker Kraft was out there, so that was still good. But, yeah, I wouldn't put it on Jordan Love.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying he's without fault, but you don't ditch the guy after basically 2 years and one, you have to kind of, you got to see where it goes. You can't throw in the towel yet, obviously.
A lot of people are saying he's not worth the money, but
I know. And there's things about LaFleur too. It's like, I don't know. It's a tough one. But there's always fingers pointing when a team loses. So
it's just someone to blame because you're mad.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's the whole organization's fault.
It sounds like you need a little nightlight tonight, buddy. You need to put the day behind.
I do.
You need a little some showbiz talk, some movies and TV. Hey, we have a really fun show for you guys tonight. I'm very excited to have Jordan Tresky on the show tonight. He's going to join me at 6:35 and talk about a book he wrote called Building the Milwaukee Bucks. You can pre-order it now. It's not out yet unless you pre-order, but Jordan's an interesting guy who also hosts a podcast about the Bucks. I'm sorry, about the Packers, and it's called Packers GSPN. So we'll talk to Jordan. Maybe he can help Conrad through his pain tonight. That would be maybe good therapy.
Well, we'll just talk about the Bucks. We don't need to talk about Packers anymore. Just no Packers talk.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But Jordan will be here at 6:35. And then at 7:20, Victoria Davis. She's a freelance award-winning writer who also writes for the Cap Times. She does some animation. She does really, really solid work. She's written for the Isthmus in Madison, and she does great work at the Capital Times. She did an article on Nightlight just a few weeks ago, and I thought she'd make a great guest. I really enjoyed my talk with Victoria. So we'll talk about some TV and movies with Victoria. She's got some connections to L.A., and we're going to just dip our toe a little bit into the talk about the fires because there's a GoFundMe being set up, and there's people that, I think we all have, not all of us, but a lot of us know people in L.A., and we'll find out if there's a way we can help, and Victoria will help us with that too. But she's a really fun guest. She'll be here at 7:20. Some birthdays today that kind of led us to our question of the night. We have Liam Helmsworth. Who did he play, Conrad? He was a superhero, right?
Was it, I think it was Chris.
It's Chris that plays Thor.
Yeah.
But Liam plays something, right? He looks like a superhero.
I forget if he does play or anything.
And Orlando Bloom.
But, that's where I know him mostly from, is from Hunger Games.
Helmsworth?
Yeah, Liam.
Yeah, okay. So those two guys have birthdays. Liam Helmsworth is 35, brother of Chris Helmsworth. That's a hunky family, boy. That's a lot of hunk right there. I wouldn't even. They're both movie stars. Doesn't that make you sick, kind of? Like two good-looking brothers, and they're both having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
And they're talented. They're not, they're good actors. Was it, I always get the two of them confused, though. One of them was in Furiosa this summer and was great.
I think that was Chris.
Was that Chris? Yeah. Liam's got some big shoes to fill. His older brother probably intimidates him. Orlando Bloom turns 48 today. So that leads us, ladies and gentlemen, to our question of the night.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question.
Pregunta.
Question.
Question.
Hey, I have a question. Questions?
This question.
Domanda.
Question.
Questions.
What is your favorite superhero movie? We've done superhero before, but we've never covered an entire movie. So tonight's question is, what is your favorite superhero movie? This will be a fun one. Let us know at 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can also text us on the app. The Civic Media app is so easy to use. Nightlight is on statewide, so just pull us up on any one of the stations or your home station and click the little text icon right next to the station and let us know your favorite superhero movie. Conrad, how can people watch the radio tonight?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, WISS, WGBW. YouTube, Civic Media or WGBW, and on Twitter, Civic Media or WGBW.
It's fun to watch the radio.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, but I try to be animated. Sometimes I get my hands going.
You talk with your hands, yes.
I got a nice shirt on tonight. I'm not wearing the Jimmy Pardo favorite from the Tim Walz collection. That was a brutal moment. So let us know. And you know what, folks? We are being hounded. Amanda Nimmer does such a great job here in Northeast Wisconsin, specifically with WGBW and WISS, but also on the network. She gets our stuff out there, promotes the show. She is telling us, and we don't say no to Amanda. What are we, 9 likes away from 300 likes?
I think we're
close.
Yeah, we're closer than that, actually.
We're closer. Okay, and we're 3 follows away from 600. So we've added like a like a day and 2 follows a day since we've been on the air, roughly. So if you're close to your computer or whatever device you're on, folks, or whatever platform, give us a like or a follow if you don't mind. It would make us look good to Amanda. Listen, I like getting likes and follows too, but I do feel weird. I feel like I'm kind of like panhandling.
You
got to do it, though. You got to do it. You have to. That's everything now is social media. So if you're close to a like, a thumbs up, a follow, or whatever, we would sure appreciate it, folks. It would be outstanding. And, you know, I got to tell you, remember last week when I was holding the ticket up?
Yeah.
Okay, so this really irritates me.
Oh, no.
So last week, I held up a ticket I got at our parking structure here, which is a lovely parking structure. As parking structures go, it's top 5 percentile.
I mean, yeah, there's some plants in there.
Relatively clean, some plants, fully accessible garbage cans. It's a lovely facility. However, when I parked there I can tell you exactly when it was. It was December 27th. I pulled in, nobody was in there. So I kind of parked a little sort of askew so I wouldn't have to back out. And I thought, I'll save myself 4 seconds when I leave. Time is precious. So I was kind of inching into the next parking spot. Well, I got a ticket. And it said because I took up more than one spot, which I did. Full disclosure, I'm guilty. I did what the parking person said I did.
I knew it.
Okay. You didn't have anything to do with that, did you? Citizen's arrest. So I got a ticket. All right. So a couple days ago, I sit down to pay bills. Usually, how much time do you think you have typically, Conrad, to pay a ticket?
I know because I've gotten a ticket out here.
All right. Pretend you haven't.
How much time? I mean, I know that there's 4 different things on there. It says, give it at least 20 days, I'd feel like.
Okay, exactly.
That they shouldn't upcharge it.
Most places, I think, give you 30 days, at least 2 weeks. I go to pay. Since I didn't pay it by January 1st, it went from $32 up to $44. Because who pays a ticket within 3 days? You either pay it immediately or you wait a week or two when you sit down to pay your bills and you pay it. $44. It went up $12 because I didn't pay it within 3 days. And here's my other issue. It was pretty much a victimless crime. And again, I was in the wrong. I broke the law. But you could leave a note and say, hey, man, it's the holidays. I'm the parking guy. Next time, don't take up 2 spaces, even though there was no one else in the 12,000 square foot parking structure. He could have done that, right? And I would have, yeah.
Maybe the parking guy wanted to park there.
I took his favorite spot. But it's weird. It's like, that's all you had to do. And I would have said, oh, no problem. Yeah. I didn't know that was a law. I didn't even know they monitored that place.
Yeah. Have you seen, if you keep going down that list of how much it goes up, I think it gets up to like $100 or something like that.
Yeah, after a month, you're at $12,000. So that was kind of crazy. So this is exciting. We have, it would be nice if the Packers were still alive because we've got Anders Lindell coming on the show.
Yeah.
Wednesday to talk about his movie Green and Gold. I don't know if you guys remember Craig T. Nelson sang the national anthem at Lambeau last week. Anders, a pretty big time movie coming out. He's got some star power in it, and I guess it's going to be released wide, right?
Yeah, nationwide, yep.
That's exciting. So that's Wednesday night. The Night Stalker dropped tonight, too. Let's talk about that next. And we've got some Julie Louis-Dreyfus news, too, and a really funny clip. That's all coming up next. We're going to talk some Milwaukee Bucks at 6:35. Jordan Tresky will be here. 7:20 Capital Times writer Victoria Davis will be here. What's your favorite superhero movie, folks? Get involved. Don't sit on the sidelines. Let us know. That's our question of the night. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is the talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
In the market for a home loan? It's time to meet Kristen Ambos, the top 1% of loan originators in the U.S. and the #1 female loan officer in Wisconsin for 2 years running. With over 20 years experience, Kristen and Point Mortgage Corporation are here to serve all of your lending needs, from conventional to FHA, USDA, and VA loans. Plus, with their rate match guarantee, if they can't beat your pre-approved rate, they'll pay you $500. Call Kristen Ambos today at 920-606-1156 and let her and Point Mortgage make your home ownership dreams come true.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. The beginning of the year means a new session for the Wisconsin State Legislature. Members of the State Senate and State Assembly were sworn into office on Monday, January 6th. There are a lot of new faces in that group, with 6 new members in the State Senate and 31 new representatives in the State Assembly. While Republicans will remain in the majority, that majority is now the smallest it has been in more than a decade. The days of the GOP's supermajority are over. After last year's elections under new, fairer maps, we'll see if those smaller majorities lead to more compromise in a legislature that's been dominated by the right for nearly 15 years. Just a handful of seats make the difference now between a Republican and Democratic majority, and there are many more opportunities now to bring accountability to legislators, especially those in competitive districts. And in a healthy democracy, that's the way things should be.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation Area and on our website at civicmedia.us.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life.
That's some serious music right there, Conrad. Thank you. Don't you wish your life always had background music?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like when I'm parking my car and I'm just inching into the next spot, maybe some eerie kind of ominous background music.
Badass music.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what it is.
I'm a badass. I'm a lawbreaker. Man, I don't know what I am doing on LinkedIn, but I am still on a roll on LinkedIn according to my email. And I was last week too. I don't know what the heck I'm doing there because I never sign in, but apparently I am quite a guy when it comes to LinkedIn.
I got 10 new notifications today.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Messages or follows or what?
You know, actually, it's crazy because every software or every platform now, there's bots on there, you know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I've gotten so many messages on LinkedIn. And
Are
that's
there bots on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
really?
that's what sucked when I was out of college and I was looking for work. I get a message. I'm like, oh, let's go. And
Here we go. LFG, baby.
It's a long message. I'm just like, at the end of it, I'm like, awesome. Fake again.
Or it's the guy, or it's someone from the team at LinkedIn telling you, hey, pay me $400 a month and I'll get your name out there.
Hey, thanks for joining LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah, I don't need that. Monica in Mount Horeb says, too hard to choose between Wonder Woman, Black Panther, and Captain America. Wow, I thought Wonder Woman was amazing. I loved Gal Gadot. She is so fantastic. Loved Black Panther. I don't know what is going to happen to that franchise because Black Panther passed away.
Yeah.
I'm completely blanking on his name. We'll Google. Captain America I saw and I liked. It was fine. I want to say my top superhero movies are Batman Begins.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought finally a superhero movie where there's some badassery and it's not trying to appeal to 6-year-olds and adults and everybody's happy and it's crazy CGI. Batman Begins was the first superhero film I saw, mainstream anyway, that I loved. And then this weekend, I watched a film based on a comic book I thought I had seen, but I hadn't seen it yet. And it's called The Old Guard with Charlize Theron. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Really good. And, you know, my wife and I made dinner, and she's like, why don't we just watch the beginning of this? Because we didn't know what to watch. And I said, okay, fine. We've already seen it before. As it turns out, I hadn't seen it. I meant to watch it, whatever, thought I'd watch it, never did. Ended up watching the whole movie. Really good. And it's about a group of people that are almost immortal. They've lived through centuries and fought the bad guys when it comes to, like, you know, keeping the creation of the polio vaccine out there and fighting against the people in the Crusades, all kinds of stuff. And now they're going head to head with a guy who is the head of a big pharma company and wants to get their DNA because they live so long. Really good movie. Action movie. Well reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. I always go to RT. Check it out first. But Monica in Mount Horeb says, Black Panther, Wonder Woman, and Captain America, all great films. Annie from Watertown says, the start of superhero stuff in my life, Christopher Reeves as Superman was awesome. You know what, Annie? I would have said that too when I was younger. And I love that. That film really had a profound effect on me in terms of superheroes, because I wasn't really a superhero kid, but that was just fantastic. I just don't think, like, compared to the new ones with the CGI, I don't know that it holds up for me personally, but very influential. Great choice. Annie continues saying there just hadn't been anything like it. George Reeves, TV reruns, and then this truly great casting. He was unique. Yeah, Christopher Reeve was a phenomenal Superman. Tom from New Berlin says, must have been a ticket quota. You just hit it on a slow night. Yeah, if there was a ticket quota to be met, this guy must have walked into the garage and saw my car and said, yo, yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
It's going to be a good month. You might be right about that, Tom. Eric from Lodi says, mine is V for Vendetta. I have not seen that. You see that movie came in?
I actually haven't, no.
No. My wife just sent the text, too. She says, The Old Guard. Look at that, because we just watched it. She says, best superheroes, best warriors, smart movie. They are considered superheroes. Because they don't wear capes and they don't have crazy superpowers. They are warriors. They know how to fight. But, yeah, they are based on a comic book. I believe, anyway. Steve from Florida says, talking live with Grandma Krieger in Florida. Conrad, your grandma's in Florida?
Yep. She's at my parents' house.
Steve says our favorite superhero movie is the original Superman movies starring Christopher Reeve. Another vote for Christopher Reeve tonight. Yeah, can't argue with that. That's a good one, Steve. Hello to Grandma Krieger. So your mom and dad will be passing on messages from your grandma tonight as opposed to Aunt Carla?
Yep.
Is that how that works? Okay, fair enough. As long as we hear from her, I don't care. Eric from Lodi says, followed by The Incredibles.
Oh, yeah.
V for Vendetta and then The Incredibles. Love The Incredibles. I don't even think of that as a superhero movie. That's funny. Jim from Appleton says, we will make you believe a man can fly is my favorite line from a superhero trailer. That being said, my favorite superhero movie is the first Chris Hemsworth Thor. I don't know if I ever saw Thor all the way through.
It's so good.
It is good, though. Yeah, I liked it. As usual, Jim crushes it. Kate in the 715 says Wonder Woman. I'm going to add Wonder Woman to my list, too, because Gal Gadot, she's so great.
Yeah.
And Black Panther's up there, too. Kate also says Black Panther. And then Kate says Alderman. I think she might mean Aquaman. Kate is on a roll. Spider-Man, she says. Batman, she's naming all the superheroes. Thank you, Kate, from the 715. Those are great answers. I still go Batman Begins. Sherry from Horicon says, my kids and I used to live in a musical. From when we would wake up until like 10 a.m., every once a month, no superhero movie. Oh, my dad. I think I follow that, Sherry. Sherry was excited when she wrote that. She put 4 hearts. Emojis don't lie. Thank you very much, Sherry. Sherry says, home movies. There we go. Because your dad was a superhero, Sherry, I'm guessing? Is that what you meant? It's a pretty good answer. She says he passed a year and a half ago. Sorry to hear that, Sherry. Sherry, you are the new hero in your family, and you're certainly a hero here at Nightlight. Thank you for chiming in. Great to hear from all of you. Oh, Anna in Madison says, hi, Pete and Conrad. I agree with Annie. Christopher Reeve in Superman was a great movie. All right, if this was a race, it'd be neck and neck.
I'm gonna put one in for the first Iron Man.
Oh,
that's my favorite.
Yeah, that was a great one. Sherry sent even more hearts. Sherry's back in full force. Hey, this is a great night for you guys to be with us. It's freezing outside. Let's just sit inside and listen to the radio and talk about the things that make us happy, movies and TV. And next, we're going to talk about a book with its author. Jordan Tresky joins me to talk about his book, Building the Milwaukee Bucks. You've got Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
From Ashwaubenon to Alloway, this is 97.9 WGBW. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Wisconsin gets a C for its gun laws. That's according to the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. But the balance of the legislature is changing, and some advocates hope that gun laws will get more attention. The Giffords Law Center compares a state's gun laws with that state's deadly outcomes. And according to Lindsay Nichols from the center, they find the same results every time. The stronger the state's gun laws, the lower the death rate. And the weaker the laws, the more people who die.
We know that these gun laws work, and there really is no reason why legislators shouldn't be taking action to prevent these tragedies.
While Wisconsin has enacted basic gun safety laws, she notes that the state could also pass bans on assault weapons or high-capacity magazines or lengthen the waiting time for a firearms purchase. She says the state could also benefit from red flag laws. Despite public pressure for new gun safety laws in 2020, Wisconsin has not passed any significant gun legislation in years. Democrats have tried unsuccessfully to introduce at least 30 gun safety measures since 2019. A 36-year-old man was arrested after a standoff with Shawano County Sheriff's officials Saturday night. They were called to the village of Wittenberg for a man who entered a residence with 2 firearms and was causing a disturbance. The man was allegedly intoxicated, put up a struggle, and ran to a nearby residence, leaving one of the firearms at the scene. Several nearby homes were evacuated as special response and SWAT teams were called in. The man was taken into custody about 3.5 hours after the initial call. Several felony charges are being referred to the district attorney's office. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. After meeting on the set of School of Rock over 2 decades ago, 2 students are tying the knot. When they were just 10 years old, Angelo Masagli, also referred to as Tough Guy in the film, and Caitlin Hale, a.k.a. Blondie, met while auditioning for the Jack Black film. The child actors connected again in 2018. By then, they had both left acting behind. Masagli is a lawyer, and Hale is now an OBGYN sonographer. The paths we take. Zombie and or Cillian Murphy fans might be upset to know that the actor will not appear in the film 28 years later. There was speculation Cillian's character Jim might be in the new installment when a preview dropped with a zombie that had striking similarities to Murphy. The Oscar-winning Oppenheimer star confirmed he is not in the new film, but is open to appearing in future 28-day films. This 3rd installment is actually the first film in a new trilogy. 28 years later opens in June of this year. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy and colder tonight to low near 0, wind chills 10 to 20 below. Sunny and highs in the mid-teens for tomorrow. Warmer for the rest of the week, mostly sunny and a high in the mid-20s Wednesday, near 40 Thursday and Friday. Currently, we're at 8.
Hi, I'm Michael Friedman, CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. Let us take the hassle out of vacation rental property management. We'll maximize your earnings and handle every detail from cleaning to maintenance and repairs. For guests, enjoy a stay that feels like home with hand-selected properties, personal touches like local recommendations, and extras like concierge service that will make your trip unforgettable. Whether you're a homeowner or a traveler, experience the Simple Life. Visit simpleliferentals.com.
Have you outgrown your health insurance plan? The number one reason we all change our health insurance is price. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to have better coverage at a better rate? Take a few minutes right now and find out if you can save money or even qualify for zero-cost health insurance in your state. Call now.
800-693-9308. 800-693-9308. That's 800-693-9308.
Maggie Dawn.
At 2 o'clock, I address whether the January 6th
From Lodi, she's in the 608. She says, favorite superhero movies. Can't pick one. First, Wonder Woman. First, Black Panther. Christopher Reeve's first Superman, and V for Vendetta. They are so amazing and masterpiece stories with the perfect casts in them. It sounds like you did okay, Judy, for someone who couldn't pick one. Yeah, those are all great. And all have already been named tonight. That's crazy that people are going right for the same movies. I guess there's a reason they're so popular. Keep those texts coming, folks. Great to hear from you guys. Always more fun when you're part of the show. What is your favorite superhero movie? We got some superhero birthdays today in the acting world. I said Batman Begins. I added Wonder Woman, and I went with the Old Guard, which, as I understand it, they're based on a comic book, and I'm going to qualify them as superhero movies. All right, Victoria Davis from the Capital Times will be here at 7:20. We'll talk movies and TV, and she's got an inside track on the LA fires. We'll talk to her a little bit about that. Right now, joining me on Nightlight for the first time, very excited to have this guy on the show. He wrote a book called Building the Milwaukee Bucks, and he also hosts a podcast about the Packers. He's very tied into journalism and Wisconsin sports, and he joins us now on the stream, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing very well. How about you?
Doing great. It's nice to meet you, and it's nice that we met on Blue Sky, which you're the first person I've had back and forth with on that app, actually. It was so easy.
Oh, really?
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very easy. It was great.
Well, welcome to the show. How's it going? How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Good. You got a whole setup there because you're a podcast host. I love that, and you sound great. Thanks for being here. So, all right, you're obviously a huge Wisconsin sports fan. I don't know if you heard the show at the top of the hour or at the top of the show, but we were lamenting the Packers' loss. Conrad is a diehard Packer fan. You also host a Packers podcast. Let's get your take on that. Help Conrad through this. What is your take on what happened yesterday?
It was obviously tough, but it didn't come as a surprise. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the signs that we saw with this team, it just kind of felt like whether it was injury or whether it was Jordan Love just not being himself or just kind of riding the waves of ups and downs. It's never broke right in the right way that we kind of expected going into the year. And then I think a big part of it too is that the NFC just got a lot better. Their division just got they finished third place with an 11-6 record. It's like it's tough to beat all the outside factors, and then when internally things aren't as good as we wanted them to be going in the year, I think it just kind of all factored into just a terrible loss like yesterday.
It's such a weird thing that happened in the NFC North too, because the Vikings got it right with their hire and with their GM hire and their head coach. Detroit has been this work in progress for 3 or 4 years now. They're crushing it. I mean, the Packers were the class of the conference for a while, and now they're still good, but it is a very tough division. What would you do if you were, like, let's say this offseason, what would you do, Jordan, if you could pick? Would you go hard at free agency? Where would you go in the draft? How would you address what the Packers need?
I think the big thing for them is that, free agency is always this kind of white whale. We always want them to go after the big fish, but they're very choosy or selective with when they do that. When they do that in recent years, like getting Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, those guys paid off for them in big ways this year. It's like, how do you keep going younger? I would probably say maybe go after someone, maybe a wide receiver one or someone with kind of the caliber that can help elevate this team and keep them going on the right track so they can contend for a Super Bowl, so they can win the division. So I think going younger is not necessarily the move that I would make, but this is, my thoughts 24 hours after they lose in an embarrassing fashion.
It's weird because, they are so young. I think they're the youngest team in the league. You've got a young head coach. Maybe you need another Reggie White, a veteran presence, to come in and kind of light the fire under some guys. Not that they didn't play hard, but it just seems like that wouldn't be the wrong choice either. What would you do in the draft, do you think?
That's really tough. I think the biggest thing that they'll have to they're at that crossroads with Jair Alexander where he's playing half of the games over the last 3 years. He's had some injuries. They're paying big money to be a leader on this team, and when you can't play, it's like that kind of just takes your effect on what this team can do. So I think going after improving their secondary, getting maybe another top level cornerback would help them with a defense that's certainly on the rise. Everybody's going to be like, get weapons for Jordan Love. Everybody lamented that when Aaron Rodgers was around and they didn't get a wide receiver in the first round, but that didn't matter much when you're getting Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, guys that could still certainly help. But I think it's just going to be really tough if you just want to keep adding talent in the right way and help elevate this team that's, like you mentioned, they're still so young that the clock is still very early on a lot of these guys, but that can turn on a dime and very fast.
Well said. All right, tell listeners how they can find your Packers podcast. It's Packers GSPN. Am I getting that right?
Yes. So it's called Talk of the Tundra. It's Packers GSPN on X. Our Substack page. It's the GSPN Eurostep Podcast Network. It has our Bucks podcasts, our Packers podcast, and our Brewers podcast. So we have all the big Wisconsin pro sports teams covered in that way.
All right, let's get to your book, Building the Milwaukee Bucks. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Oscar Robertson, and the rapid rise of an NBA franchise 1968 to 1975. I found this really interesting today, reading up just on the book, and I didn't realize that the Bucks won a championship that early on in their franchise's history. That is insane to me. But let's get into that. But tell us about building the Milwaukee Bucks.
So, I can go back to kind of the origins. I've talked and written about the Bucks for like a decade. I started at Behind the Buck Pass, which is like a fan-sided, it's kind of like a personal team blog of basically what I've been doing for the last 2 years, but that's where it was housed for many years. And that's where like a lot of my love of Bucks history really started, and really writing about things. I got to shout out Adam McGee. He's from Ireland and ran the site for many years. And he put out this posting of, hey, I'm looking for writers. I'm looking for people that will talk about the Bucks. And I, respond to that. And 10 years later, here we are. We co-host a podcast about the Bucks and still going. But
nice.
So yeah, that's where it all started. And then when they won the championship in 21, it was always like these things that we've been talking about and writing about for years of, it's obviously like big names that you talk about. And it's just like, that felt like the perfect opportunity to kind of really go back and explore just how it was when they won the first time. And it was, as you would read in this book, it was a very different atmosphere for a lot of reasons. And a big part was the Bucks were just so new, and the NBA wasn't certainly not as established as they are now. So it just kind of made for like, they just got so good so fast. And I think a lot of people just had to catch up to that really quickly.
That's crazy. And it sounds like there are parallels there between the 71 champs and the 2021 champs. How did they get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson? Did they just come through the draft?
So Kareem was kind of the big fish that at the time the NBA is certainly looking at him as the next star. And at the time, the ABA, which is rivaling like the big rival to the NBA, they're looking at Kareem as this is the guy that's going to legitimize our league and help, at the very least force a merger or even take over the NBA. So there is this bidding war. Like there's two levels to this where the Bucks obviously had to win the coin flip, which back at the time, the first overall pick was determined by a coin flip. So they had to win the rights to him to draft him in the NBA. And then they had to do the bidding war with the ABA, which is pooling all their money together just to get Kareem to come to their league and play for the Nets. They were giving him ownership rights to the franchise, point out all the stops to get him. And so, yeah, that was part of the craziness of just getting Kareem to Milwaukee. And then Oscar was very much on the other side of it, where he played for the Cincinnati Royals. They, for a good while there, they kind of just ran up against the Celtics, who won, I believe it's 8 titles out of 10 years. So basically throughout the 60s, the Royals are kind of the second banana, or the team that's just, they're never going to get to the finals. And then Oscar is playing for so long and he's getting older, and they're kind of viewing him as we want to trade him. We want to move on from him. And so it's this very contentious exit for him. And the team that he picks, he looks at the Bucks. They improve from 27 wins in their first year to 56 wins when Kareem comes. And he's looking at them as, I want to play with them. They're going to be my best chance of winning a championship. And then the next year they win it. So it's just crazy how all these dominoes just happened so in quick succession of one another.
It's like a perfect storm.
Yeah, truly.
My guest is Jordan Tresky. He is the author of Building the Milwaukee Bucks, which is now available for pre-sale, right? Tell us how people can get the book, Jordan. I know it's not totally out yet, but they can order it, correct?
Yes. So there's, you can certainly find it on Amazon. My publisher, McFarland and Company, who have been super supportive and super great throughout this process, they just put it up on their website as well. So both McFarland's direct website and Amazon will have pre-order capabilities.
All right. Let's talk about Oscar Robertson. I feel like he doesn't get, this is a guy who I believe he averaged a triple-double for a season.
Yes.
He was a phenomenal player. Michael Jordan always talks about how Oscar Robertson was his hero growing up.
Yeah.
But I don't hear his name mentioned much as far as NBA all-time greats goes. It's what, and you're saying he was at the end of his career, sort of, or on the downside of it when he came to the Bucks?
Yeah, so he played about a decade for the Royals, and then when he comes to the Bucks, he finishes out his last 4 seasons, but isn't he's not doing, averaging triple-double during that time. He's more of kind of the supporting guy, but the floor general, the leader of the team that in a lot of ways. So it's a fading Oscar Robertson, but he means so much in so many different ways, not just for the Bucks, but for the NBA itself.
That's interesting. You also mention in the synopsis of the book I read that Kareem, who I think was still Lou Alcindor, correct? When he was here?
Yes.
Okay. He was not happy or not comfortable, I should say, being the face of the franchise. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that is part of I would describe it as the heart of the book, is that you have Kareem's side of it where he comes to Milwaukee. It's a place that he's not very familiar. I believe it, he talks about the only reason why he knew Milwaukee is that the Braves, who when they were in Milwaukee, played against the Brooklyn Dodgers, or the New York Yankees in the 1957 World Series. So it's a place that he's not very familiar with. And as he learns, it's a place that, at the time, Milwaukee was just out of the race riots in 1967. It's a very different community, a different atmosphere that he's very used to. So it's very much when he comes to town, people are looking at him as it's Kareem or Lou Alcindor at the time. He's this very famous person. And he was very uncomfortable with being a celebrity and having, personal space invaded. It's crazy. When I was doing all this work, you're reading these newspaper listings and they're putting out his address in the newspaper.
Whoa.
And it's whoa, they're not doing that with Giannis these days. You know what I mean?
Right.
or Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers once upon a time. It's just it's a very different atmosphere. I think for me, I'm 32 years old, soon to be 33. I did not watch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play for the Bucks. I'm not that old. But going back and kind of getting used to how people were covered at the time, it's just a very different atmosphere. And certainly, like, I could very much like equate to like someone that feels like so much is bearing on him, and he's viewed as this guy that's going to save the NBA or save pro basketball. Like, there's so much in his life at that time that makes him so compelling for a lot of reasons. And then we just mentioned, it's like he changes his religion. He converts to Islam right after they win the title. He announces that he wants to be only referred to as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and that's met very, not very well at the time. And it just adds to kind of the mystique or kind of the characterization as someone that was very devoid or aloof. That's often how he was referred to at the time.
Let's pick it up there. We got to do a very short break. Jordan Tresky is here. He's the author of Building the Milwaukee Bucks. We're talking about Lou Alcindor, and we'll have more on that when we come back. This is Night Light with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. As we approach the 15th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's Citizens United decision, we consider the estimated $15.9 billion spent in the 2024 campaign. While still tallying up the total, money and politics watchdog Open Secrets estimates the 2024 election cycle was the costliest ever, surpassing 2020's $15.1 billion. For context, the $15.9 billion estimate is larger than the state budgets of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Idaho combined. Only 24% of political contributions to candidates were small donations of $200 or less, down from 30% in 2020. When you consider contributions to PACs and other outside spending, that percentage drops further, with only 16% from small donors. The top 1% of donors, they contributed an estimated 50% of all political contributions. That means by far our elections are not funded by citizens who actually vote, but by wealthy special interests and corporations whose interests may not align with the majority of voters. Open Secrets projects that outside spending alone, mostly by super PACs, will reach $5 billion. Now that the election is over, it's the inaugural fund setting records. The New York Times reports that donors to the Trump inaugural have contributed over $170 million. More on that tomorrow. We have more at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org.
Matt Nair on Air.
It is our 1 year anniversary here on Matt Nair on Air. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, for being on this journey with me. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. I can't speak for Calvin.
I'm always thrilled to be here.
Unbridled.
The enthusiasm
enjoyment.
brimming over from you, Calvin. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you.
Matt Nair.
Here's a good one. From the 920, Bill says, when we think of some of the greatest and toughest superheroes, we shouldn't forget the greatest American hero and Blank Man. Greatest American Hero had a great theme song, too. That's a great one, Bill. And then 262 says, Iron Man. They're with you, Conrad. All right. Wow, great suggestions. Keep them coming, folks. What is your favorite superhero movie? That is tonight's question. Tonight's Nightlight question of the night. 855-752-4842. 855-75-CIVIC. Shout out to Aaron Carreno, who is in the hizzy from the Civic Media home office, our operations manager. Good to see you, Aaron. All right, we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. A book was written by Jordan Tresky, Building the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, Building the Milwaukee Bucks. And we're talking about, right before the break, Jordan, we talked about Kareem. And he was Lou Alcindor, then he became Kareem, you said, after they won. And he was never really comfortable being the face of the franchise. Why is that? He seemed to kind of relax into his fame a little bit more, but never totally comfortable with it, even when he was an icon and a legend. Why do you think he wasn't comfortable with that?
I don't know. I think it's, certainly an interesting time, and that I think it's certainly informed by where the country was, where he was personally. Like, going back and doing all this research, he's going through terrible things. Like, he gets married, he converts to Islam, he gets divorced like within like a 2-year period. And a lot of these personal details he's not sharing to the press. Like, again, he's very wants to keep his privacy, but I think trying to kind of keep himself acclimated to the basketball world and being himself, like, eventually, as you mentioned, like, relaxing into his fame, I think that came naturally once he kind of put everything together and was just very comfortable sharing who he was. And obviously that comes with a lot of time and being in the spotlight as much as he was for a very long time.
Yeah. How much research, Jordan, would you say, how long did this take you to write? And let's do that first. And I want to ask you about interviews. Were they tough to get? Who did you like, and who was evasive, if anybody? It's got to be, it sounds overwhelming to write a book. Just talk a little bit about that process, if you would.
Yeah, like, this did not start off as a book by any means. This is, Adam and I were kind of thinking about it as like a documentary project, whether it was like audio or visual, but time and just, holding down a day job and doing this, on the side on top of doing podcasts and stuff like that. Like, it got to be, I would just kind of chip away at things. So by and large, it was like 3 years from starting to do research and then submitting it to McFarland last summer, and them saying, "Hey, we really like the idea, and we'll go ahead and publish it." So it was for a long
that must
time.
Have been
it was
a great feeling.
Oh yeah, it was so
Yeah.
validating, because it's like, you think of back to the days of just like, what do I do with this? Like, I've been researching, I've tried to get interviews. Like, part of it, I think I wanted to just kind of capture everything how it was at the time. But if I talked to Oscar Robertson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I would have been super thrilled. I did not get that chance, but
Okay.
I did talk to Jim Paschke, who did Bucks television broadcast for, I don't know, 35 years. And that for me was just huge, just because this is a guy that would hear his voice for at least 82 games for many years. He's since retired since they won the championship, but that was just such a thrill to talk to him about. It wasn't a time period that he covered himself, but he talked a lot about just what the Bucks mean. And I think that, to me, like, as I kept doing this and what I wanted to get this across, I just wanted to talk about like the importance of the Bucks, where it's been a franchise that's gotten their shine when they've been good, but in recent memory, until they got Giannis and until they win the championship, like, nationally, they were irrelevant for a very long time. So to go back and be able to kind of uncover all this stuff, I think that was just my way of kind of exploring, like, how much, like you mentioned, like, it was just like a rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah.
So quickly. And then you just kind of like capture just like, this is just a team from Milwaukee that at the time they just lost the Braves, and sports in Milwaukee means so much. And I don't know, maybe it's my years of doing this for so long and why I gravitated towards it in the first place, but maybe I'm validating my own existence of talking about sports for a very long time, but it just something I kept coming back to throughout this whole thing.
That is the voice of Jordan Tresky. He's the author of Building the Bucks, which you can now pre-order on Amazon. So how long did it take you, Jordan? This had to be at least, a couple years?
Couple years for sure. So 3 years for sure between starting research and then that getting submitted to McFarland. And then, I got married between there, and my wife was such a trooper of learning about players that she'd never heard of before, and I'd be just like inundating her with details of like, he did this, he did that, and she's like, great, that's great. But yeah, 3 years.
Nice. All right. So what made you, all right, it's a big commitment, whether you're making a documentary film or, writing a book. What made you decide, I'm going to spend 3 years of my life? Is it a love for the Bucks? Was it something to do? Was it a story to tell? What made you go over that line?
I think all of the above, frankly. I mean, I felt very comfortable talking about the Bucks for a very long time, but seeing it kind of develop and the things that would, there's a lot of parallels. It's a lot of big names in kind of Milwaukee and Wisconsin history. So when you see these names come up and time again, you're just like, huh, like that connects with this, that connects with that. And I think for me, it was just a way to tell the story of the Bucks in a time in Milwaukee that, whether it's been told before or not, like it was a way of me trying to bridge everything together and tell it in a very compelling way.
That's great. All right, we're going to talk more with Jordan about his book after Civic Media's award-winning news team tells you what you need to know. And Jordan, hang on. We got a couple texters that have questions for you, so we'll cover that. And also, if you want to get in on the fun, what is your favorite superhero movie? That is our Nightlight question of the night. We'll have more with Jordan Tresky, author of Building the Milwaukee Bucks, when we come back. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Maggie Dawn Show.
John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Tuesday's show, we'll talk with Emily Schmidt and Shelley Seward from Capture Sports and Entertainment. They work with some of the top talent in the sports world.
And we'll welcome Ben and Deanna for their Moving with the Melkor segment.
Join us.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Brad Schimmel, a J6 sympathizer, and he wants to be your next Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice. When he was Attorney General of Wisconsin, he spent thousands of dollars on memorial coins.
I would have been fired
that stood
if I'd
for
done that.
kicking ass every day. Hey, if you got to get a coin that says it, you're probably not
with
doing
your
it.
face on it.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. A special counsel's report on Hunter Biden is out.
The special counsel who investigated the president's son says he brought the charges against Hunter Biden because, quote, he broke the law. David Weiss says the unanimous jury who convicted Hunter Biden of gun charges agreed, and Biden himself pleaded guilty to tax violations. In his final report, Weiss takes particular issue with the president's statement that accompanied his pardon of his son. That statement called the prosecution of Hunter selective, unfair, and a miscarriage of justice. Weiss calls the president's words gratuitous and wrong.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy in Washington. Federal public health officials report high levels nationwide of respiratory illnesses. 6 states listed as very high, 29 more listed as high, up from 24 last week. A group representing illegal miners says at least 100 of them died of suspected starvation and dehydration after being trapped deep underground in a gold mine, abandoned gold mine, for months.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Gas prices have fallen a bit, but they're still higher than this time last year. Melissa Kay reports.
Gas prices fell 3.9 cents last week. The average across the state is $2.97 today. This is 0.8 cents higher than a month ago and 3.2 cents per gallon higher than this time last year. Officials at Gas Buddy say it's been a relatively quiet week with little overall movement on the national average. However, the cold temperatures could impact prices if refiners face disruptions. Oil prices have climbed to their highest level since October, which could soon lead to more noticeable increases in gas prices. Once refinery maintenance season hits, and refiners reduce gasoline production, motorists could see increases at the pump.
The average price for a gallon of gas in Green Bay is $2.81, down 1.5 cents from last week, and in Appleton it's $2.77, down almost 7 cents from last week. When a senior citizen falls ill, not getting the correct care quickly can be dangerous. So when that person is denied treatment by their insurance company, the time waiting for that decision to be overturned could be crucial. U.S. Representative Mark Pocan says in this term, he wants to do something about it.
If you're a senior and you need care, you've been denied by your insurance company, you appeal it. Get this, 85% of the appeals on Medicare Advantage are overturned in that 6 or 9 months. If you have cancer, Think of what 6 or 9 months could mean and not getting the care you need. So we're going to try to do everything we can to expose programs like that.
Pocan appeared on Civic Media's Rational Revolution with Mark Becker. Find it on civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
The Packers season ends in Philly. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Packers losing to the Eagles 22-10 in the first round of the playoffs. Several Packers players on offense had to leave the game with injuries. Left guard Elton Jenkins' arm went numb with a stinger. Romeo Doubs with another concussion. Center Josh Myers with a possible fractured leg. And what happened to receiver Jaden Reed?
I dislocated my shoulder. So I tried to go back in, but after I realized I physically couldn't, the trainers did a great job of taking me to go get an x-ray and everything.
So the Eagles advance, and they'll play the winner of tonight's game between the Vikings and the Rams. I spoke to Eagles running back Saquon Barkley.
That's football, man. They're a good team. You got to give credit to them. They did some good things. They're a well-coached team. Got a lot of great players. But at the end of the day, stats don't matter. Only stats that matter is that win column.
NBA, the Bucks' 3-game winning streak snapped with a 140-106 loss to the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news in depth. Find it in the news section at WGBW.FM.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy and colder tonight to low near zero. Wind chills 10 to 20 below. Sunny and highs in the mid-teens for tomorrow. Warmer for the rest of the week. Mostly sunny and a high in the mid-20s Wednesday. Near 40 Thursday and Friday. Currently, it's 6.
Matt and Air on Air.
Robotaxis made by Zoox are slated to hit the streets of California later on this year. Rides will initially be free for people who agree to test it out. You go first.
Wait, have you ever wanted to drive in a 4-person casket with no driver?
My biggest sticking point about this is the name. Zoox is a cartoon character.
Yeah. Do you think when he just driving is going
Awooga.
Matt and Air on Air. Weekdays 10 till noon on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Todd Alba Show.
Donald J. Trump has been officially certified the winner of the 2024 election the way that the Constitution dictates. You see how simple that is? There's a vote, you certify the results, democracy moves on. You might not like the results. The person I wanted to have elected didn't win, but that's the way democracy works. Unlike 4 years ago on January 6th, where rioters stormed the Capitol.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on this show, our colleague Jimmy Kuska joins us to talk about potential changes within Wisconsin sports. Not everybody's happy. And how much money are
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who prefers to travel by catapult, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back. We are kicking off hour number 2 here. Great to have you with me on this Monday night here in the great state of Wisconsin. Wherever you are listening from, welcome, welcome. Tomorrow night we have nutritionist Sherry Stoka on the show. She owns Wellness MD in Milwaukee and the rock band. We're going to rock tomorrow night, Conrad. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. I am so ready.
Ask Your Mother. Eric Rathsack and Adam Krause from Ask Your Mother will be here in the studio, and there will be rock. So we'll check in with Sherry and see how people are doing with their New Year's resolutions, too. I'm also going to hit the street this week, folks, and ask people about their resolutions and see how that's going. So we'll cut that together, too, this week. That'll be fun. And then on Wednesday, Anders Lindell, the director of the film Green and Gold, starring, tell me his name again, Conrad.
Craig T. Nelson?
Well, Craig T. Nelson, but the big movie star is Brandon... I can never think of it. It's Skennel, I think. He's in 1923, and he's like in the top 10 on IMDb Pro. This guy's huge. And Anders, a kid from the UP done good, got him in his movie. So it's opening wide January 31st. We'll talk to Anders on Wednesday night. So right now, we have a few more minutes with our current guest. Jordan Tresky, he wrote a book called Building the Milwaukee Bucks, which you can pre-order now on Amazon. So we have a texter, Jordan, that says, "Oh, I lost my text. Bear with me here. Please ask your guest about the Bucks trading Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics. He was one of my favorite players. I was so mad when they traded him." Are you behind that, Jordan? Should we direct our anger at you? Or
I'm not. You don't need
Okay.
to direct your anger at me. But not to be this person, but Bucks didn't technically trade Jrue Holiday to the Celtics. They traded him to the Blazers, and then the Celtics were like, "That's a good player. We're going to trade for him." So that was more of it than anything. But yeah, it's definitely the plan to trade for Damian Lillard and hopefully it working out and creating kind of like extending this era of contending for a championship has been tougher than I think they could have imagined.
It's a hard thing to do. It's hard to repeat. I mean, and it's hard to stay relevant. I mean, we have another texter here I want to get to from the 414. This is John, who's actually from Portland, Oregon. He says, "Hey, Pete, great show. First time, long time. My favorite superhero is Moon Knight." Who's that, Conrad? Do you know that guy?
Yeah, that's a great TV show if you haven't seen it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. He says, "Can you ask Jordan if he's ever had the pleasure of interviewing a coach, and if so, who is his favorite?"
I have had the pleasure of interviewing a coach. His name is Mike Dunlap. He was like an assistant coach for the Bucks when they won the title, and then I think he was there for like 3 seasons. Basically, he left when Mike Budenholzer got fired. So, but yeah, it was quite the thrill to talk to him. A very unique guy and just a crazy journey of coaching all around the world. And then he is kind of like this veteran coach that has seen everything, came to Milwaukee, and it kind of helped give them a little bit of a lift, I think, from a coaching side that they needed to get over the hump.
That's great. Jordan, so how important was the first championship they won in 1971 after just 3 years? And how important was the 2021 team's championship? Are there parallels there?
I think obviously 50 is such a big round number that you want to see parallels. I mean, part of it is just who are the two biggest and most important players in the franchise? It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are obviously forever linked, being number 33 in Kareem's case and being number 34 in Giannis's case. They're always kind of symbolically right there next to each other. But, I think part of it is that the Bucks won it so quickly in 3 years. And that was the standard that they had to meet for a very long time. Even when Kareem left, they eventually were very good. They met up against the Celtics in the East and lost to the 76ers many times throughout the 80s, but they're still in the hunt. And then things just fell off pretty badly there for many years. So when they got really good again and Giannis is starting to become, a breakout guy, and then he turns into an MVP player, like I think a lot of it's not a perfect like for like comparison, but the fact that someone like Giannis, who was this teenager when he comes from Milwaukee and then just grows into something bigger and better than anybody could have imagined. He has a lot of traits that I would say Kareem had at the time, but Kareem was just so much more polished when he comes in the NBA versus Giannis needed a few years to kind of reach that level.
I think that was part of Giannis's charm though, right? Like he was this kid, but he was so likable. Very different than Kareem, who was more, like you said earlier, aloof. When I moved to Wisconsin, I was 12 years old. And I remember they had this great team. They had Sidney Moncrief and Marcus Johnson. And I felt like I didn't know about them because of the Packers. Like, that was a great Bucks team. Do the Packers tend to overshadow the Bucks and or Brewers at times? I feel like the Bucks should have more of their swag out there and be a team people find. Do you think
I think you're hitting on that kind of sentiment. Even when the Packers, during that time, the Packers were very bad. They won throughout the 60s, and then Vince Lombardi leaves or he resigns, and then it just starts off like 25 years of just. I think they had 1 or 2 playoff appearances within that time frame.
Yeah,
but it's because it's the Packers. They created this example of mattering so much throughout the state. That even with a team like the Bucks, who, again, I think part of it is that NFL was so established at the time versus the NBA had to really fight their way to really matter in a national perspective. that even when the Bucks won the title and they're content, trying to get back to that point, people are still looking at the Packers as like, well, they'll eventually get back there. And it took a long time for them to do that, even when the Bucks were winning 50 to 60 games and Don Nelson's like kind of viewed as this guy that's keeping it going and the machine going. So yeah, I think, when I started writing about the Bucks, I think the thing was always just like Bucks season starts when Packers season ends. And the Bucks have made it now kind of like they're trying to get on even footing, but it's still, the NFL is such a behemoth, and I think the Packers are a big reason why.
Do you have a favorite Wisconsin sports team? Is it the Bucks? You seem to do most of your work. It's Bucks related, but
Bucks are definitely like the one that I've talked and written about the most. The Packers are more newer, but I definitely have followed football longer. Like that's my earliest sports memories of watching like the Packers win the Super Bowl in '97 and being like 5 years old and just be like, what is the Super Bowl? so that was more of that. But yeah, it's kind of like a two halves of like a something that just feels very familiar to me, I would say.
My guest is Jordan Tresky, the author of Building the Milwaukee Bucks. You can also check out his Packer-related podcast, Packers GSPN, Talk of the Tundra on Twitter or X. You have let's get a prediction before we let you go, Jordan. Where will the Bucks finish this year? How do you like their chances?
Oh, they're trying to get into that home court range, so the top 4 in the East. But
that would be amazing after how they started, right? I mean, if they could
yeah. The fact that they're where they are right now after being I think like 2-8 at one point, like through the first 10 games, like it's still it's a lot better, but I think they just go out walloped by the Knicks by like 34 points.
Yeah.
Celtics, the Cavs are, they just lost yesterday, but they're 31-5. It's going to be tough to crack in there. So I think kind of that 5-6 range where they're sure to make the playoffs, but they'll have a tough road to climb to kind of, break this 2-year drought of not winning a playoff series, I would say.
All right. Before we let you go, our question of the night is favorite superhero movie. I think you could take 30 seconds, Jordan, and forget about the Bucks. Tell us your favorite superhero movie if you have one.
I would say The Dark Knight. I think that it's a movie like that experience of watching it for the first time is like up there. And it's kind of one of those movies where if you I guess cable it's a fading medium, but if you see it on cable or if you're, it's halfway through the movie and you just like follow along, like you can just kind of pick it up instantly. It's kind of one of those movies where whether you watch it from start to finish or you pick it up midway through, that you're always going to be sucked into it kind of thing.
That's a great answer. And that's the first time we've heard The Dark Knight on this
really?
program
Wow.
anyway. Tonight. Yeah, because most people, I said Batman Begins, but a lot of people say The Dark Knight is a better film, and maybe it is. I just like watching how he becomes Batman. So that was a really, that's a great answer. And I love those films, too, that you find where, Conrad, we need to do this as a question, too. What's one of those TV movies, like when you're in a hotel and it's like, I could watch this movie anytime I want and I can stream it commercial free, but it's on TV right now. I'm going to watch it and I'm not going to turn it off. I don't know why we do that to ourselves.
I don't know. There's just something about like it being picked and that just like, oh, this is already on. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change the dial, the channel or anything like that.
It's just like a little treasure. It's like a little find. Hey, Jordan, thanks so much for your time tonight. Best of luck with the book. Keep us posted. It's called Building the Milwaukee Bucks. You can pre-order it on Amazon right now. Check out Jordan's Frozen Talk of the Tundra podcast on X as well. Thanks so much for your time tonight, buddy. It's great to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
All right. See you on Blue Sky. All right. That's Jordan Tresky, Wisconsin sports fan. Conrad, he might rival you as a Wisconsin sports fan.
That's some good competition right there.
It is. I think your Phoenix Suns thing brings you down. So he's got you on the NBA.
It might bring me down a little bit.
Tom from the 414, in answer to our question, what is your favorite superhero movie? Tom didn't. He went superhero, and I love his pick. He says Super Dave Osborne is my pick. Love Super Dave. He also played Marty Funkhauser in on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And most of his stuff, we couldn't even clip a Marty Funkhauser clip. It would just be beeps the whole time. So we can't ever use that. Tom says not a movie. Oh, he clarified. He says not a movie, but funny. Totally agree, Tom. Thanks for the text. And then, do we have time for Julia Louis?
We have about a minute left.
All right, we can't do that. Julia Louis-Dreyfus turns 64 today. She looks like she's in her late 30s. I cannot believe she's in her 60s. So we have a clip, one of my favorite clips from Seinfeld, featuring Julia Louis. If we can get to that later, we will. But keep those texts coming, folks. We've had some great answers. Picked up some new texters tonight, too. Have you noticed that, Conrad?
Yeah.
Are you making a memo?
I'm making.
Are you taking a note?
We'll just do superhero questions every night.
Well, I don't know if we will. Join the fun, folks. What is your favorite superhero movie? That's our question of the night. Great to have you with me on this. Is it Monday already? God, this week is flying by. All right. We'll be back with Victoria Davis from the Capital Times in Madison. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I swear at this moment.
From De Pere to Swamico, 97.9 WGBW.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to NewNordicUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New year, new you, New Nordic.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Here's what the WSJ had said after J6. This week has probably finished Donald Trump as a serious political figure. Boy, that hasn't aged well, has it?
No, not at all. In the Wall Street Journal. So after what they just said 4 years ago, Maggie, they couldn't bring it upon themselves to say that guy who did that shouldn't be anywhere near the White House again. Nope, couldn't do it.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station.
My buddy Dave, who refuses to text the show on the actual text line, sent me a text and said, Superman 2. You know, I don't think that was as good as Superman 1, the Christopher Reeve late 70s movie, but there were some great scenes in there, and there were some really good bad guys in that film. I think it was Zod, and he had two compadres with him that were just like really good villains. That's good, Dave. And thank you for not texting the show. The last thing we would want is more actual texters to show up on the text line. All right, so I'm excited to welcome my next guest. She is an award-winning freelance journalist. She also does a lot of work for the Capital Times. She's written for the Isthmus. You could maybe call her Miss Madison. I don't know if she would like that or not, but you could try it. She joins us now, Victoria Davis, on the stream. Hi, Victoria.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. It's nice to put a face with a voice.
That's true.
Just a full disclosure, Victoria did an article on the show Nightlight that aired or that dropped probably late November, early December, and you interviewed me, and that's how I got to know you. It was fun talking to you. I thought you'd make a great guest, so welcome to Nightlight.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you again for the article. It's very well done.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. My husband and the baby are out temporarily, so we'll see how quiet the house stays.
When you say
But we're
out, do
doing
you
good.
mean like asleep, or
Oh
is it
no,
like
they are
baby
no,
and husband night out?
they're having a father-daughter night out. So they're out on the town. They'll be back around sometime, maybe middle of the show, but they
Wow.
said they're gonna hang out in the basement, watch movies. So we'll see we'll see how it goes.
That is pretty cool. I don't want to make you nervous either, but if they're out, a guy with a baby, women love that. So check in.
I know. It's
Okay.
I know. It's true. It's true. I am my own worst enemy on that one, but that's okay. It was my idea.
But you got the house to yourself. That's not so bad either.
No, it's true. It's true.
All right. So this was interesting. You mentioned earlier when we were emailing back and forth about the fires in LA, and you said, did you want to talk a little bit about that? And we have a little bit on this show. I have family out there and friends, and it's just such a terrible situation. But you approached it from a different angle, a GoFundMe. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you introduced me. I obviously, like you said, I've worked for the Cap Times here in Madison and the Isthmus. Still do. I also work for Animation World Network, which is based in Van Nuys, California. And we obviously my job is to do animation reporting there. So we've worked with people at DreamWorks and Nickelodeon and Disney and kind of all the bigwigs. And in response to the fires, someone geniusly had created a kind of master link to all of the GoFundMes that were created by animators who were affected by the fire. So we have that link upload onto our highlight in Instagram on our account for AWN, for Animation World Network. You can go on Instagram and find it. You can also go on our Facebook and find it. Just kind of a heads up for anybody that wants to contribute and help these animators kind of get back on their feet, especially, losing equipment, losing your home offices. It's going to take some time to kind of get back into the swing of things.
So say that the places where people can go for information again, just so they
Right.
have it. And maybe we could put that, Conrad, on the stream.
Yeah, they can go to, so the Instagram is Animation World Network. And then the Facebook is also Animation World Network.
Okay. That's great. It's interesting because so many people are doing so many things. If there is a silver lining in this, it's nice that people are coming together and trying to help other people that are losing their livelihoods, or at least going to be put on hold for a very long time. Because like you said, people that lose home offices or equipment or anything like that, it's just devastating. So kudos to you for being involved with that. It's funny you say this too, because when my son was born, we lived in the Valley Village area of Los Angeles, right next to Studio City in North Hollywood. And I would take him walking in the baby Bjorn, and I walked past this very basic office building, and that all these pictures of Homer Simpson on the window, and Bart Simpson and Lisa. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And as it turns out, that's where they animated The Simpsons. And I just got the biggest kick out of that. I'm like, I can't believe that all happens right here.
Yeah.
How
It is
knowledgeable? How knowledgeable about animation are you? I know you've dabbled, or did you actually? Was that your job, or?
No, I was never an animator. Some people have asked me that as well, and I'm flattered. But that is not one of my skill sets. But I got hired by my editor Dan Sarto. I got hired onto Animation World Network in I believe it was 2020, so right when the pandemic had started, and it's just been a learning curve ever since. The first animation article I wrote.
Did we lose Victoria?
I think, yeah.
Frozen.
There
connection or something. Oh, there you are, Victoria. You cut out just for a little bit there.
Am I back?
You're back now. We missed you.
Awesome.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I was basically just saying that when I first began, it was a bit of a learning curve, and had to learn on the job essentially what all the jargon was. And I think I've gotten pretty good at it now.
You can at least sound like you know what you're talking about. That's very important, right?
Exactly.
So tell us, we've got about a minute and a half till we have to do a break, and we can dive into more of what you do at the Cap Times and what you're writing about. But give us a little bit about your background, like what brought you to writing, and how did you end up in Madison?
Yeah, it is a funny story. So my husband and I got married very early. That was not the plan, but it was what it was. And because he was a Marine and I was in school, and someone was like, maybe, because he was about to get deployed, and someone's like, maybe it's better if you're together rather than flying out once a month, like, and they were correct. So you just make the most of what you got, what time you got. And so we ended up getting married, and I flew out there. I transferred schools and ended up in probably one of the best journalism programs I could have asked for at Point Loma Nazarene University. And just learning from people that had worked at NBC San Diego, at New York Times, at CNN, visiting Tijuana, and meeting the journalists there. It was an incredible school. And when my husband left the military, he wanted to go to UW-Madison. So that's what brought us out here.
Oh, nice.
And
let's pick up right
Yeah.
there, all right? Because it
Sounds
sounds like you've had a really cool background that led you into journalism. We'll have more with Victoria Davis after Civic Media's award-winning news team keeps you informed. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see.
Green Bay, WGBW. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. A recent study by the American Journal of Medicine found that alcohol-related deaths more than tripled in Wisconsin between 1999 and 2020. According to the report, there were 356 alcohol-related deaths in the state in 1999, but nearly 1,100 in 2020. Those numbers include both short-term causes like alcohol poisoning and long-term conditions like liver diseases. Alcohol-related deaths across the entire country doubled over the same span, showing the Midwest and Wisconsin specifically outpacing the rest of the country. There's a lot of excitement brewing over the NFL draft that's coming to Green Bay in just over 3 months. People are listing their homes on sites such as Airbnb and Vrbo to make a little cash. Michael Friedman with Simple Life Hospitality, which manages vacation properties, says don't cut corners. Make sure you get the proper permits through your local municipality.
People are getting cited already. They're getting their initial warning letter from the city of Green Bay stating that your home is listed and it does not have the proper permitting.
Friedman says Green Bay is not the only local municipality that is checking permits, so it's best to do everything by the book.
If people think they're going to get away with trying to do this and skate by not having the proper licensing and permitting, and they're not going to get caught, I will tell everyone who's listening or watching, don't do it. You're going to get caught and you're going to get busted, and then ultimately you're going to get fined, and it is going to be significant.
The NFL Draft comes to Green Bay April 24th through the 26th. From local news to what's going on around the state, Civic Media's mission is to bring you real news and great conversation. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Audrey Hepburn is considered one of the greatest movie stars of all time. Ariana Grande is just getting started with her big screen career comparatively, but there are rumors that she might play the iconic classic Hollywood Oscar winner in an upcoming biopic. Nothing has been confirmed, but it sounds like the Wicked actress is really interested in such a role, telling Access Hollywood that she has always been enamored with old Hollywood. Speaking of Grande, Wicked was just released on video on demand, and it's no surprise that one of the biggest movies of 2024 is seeing sales through the roof. The film is now available to stream in the US and Canada. Wicked pulled in $26 million on its first day of digital release, according to Variety, and ended up with $70 million after its first week. The nice thing about watching Wicked at home is you will not have strangers standing up and singing along. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nite Lite with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy and colder tonight to low near zero, wind chills 10 to 20 below. Sunny and highs in the mid-teens for tomorrow. Warmer for the rest of the week, mostly sunny and a high in the mid-20s Wednesday, near 40 Thursday and Friday. Currently, it's 6.
Hi, I'm Michael Friedman, CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. Let us take the hassle out of vacation rental property management. We'll maximize your earnings and handle every detail from cleaning to maintenance and repairs. For guests, enjoy a stay that feels like home with hand-selected properties, personal touches like local recommendations, and extras like concierge service that will make your trip unforgettable. Whether you're a homeowner or a traveler, experience the Simple Life. Visit simpleliferentals.com.
The Todd Alba Show.
What's worse, fast drivers or slow drivers? Karina listening on WAUK in Milwaukee.
Slow drivers are the worst. They think too slow. They stop in the middle of the highway to think about where they're going. Maybe they need to turn left and right. They changing lines for oh my God, I can do all day long.
Karina, can you tell us what you really think?
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Todd Alba.
Hey, everybody, join us next time. Our friend and colleague, Mr. Luke Mathers, will be in with a Tuesday Tangent with Lukester. What's grinding his gears? And more. Join us.
The Todd
There's a problem, feathers, iron, bargain, buildings, weights and pulleys, feathers hit the ground before.
I am Pete Schwaba. This is Nightlight. Turning to the stream, we have texts from when Jordan was here. Capjacks, if that is your real name, says I'm learning feels. I'm learning. Period. Feels. ... Good. Yes. Capjacks brought up his own topic, asked his own question, and answered it. That is my kind of text. He also says MKE to the freaking moon. Big time Milwaukee fan there. We're covering Wisconsin's two biggest cities tonight with Jordan Tresky. And now Victoria Davis joins me on the stream. She writes for the Capital Times, and she is also an award-winning freelance writer. You were talking a little bit, Victoria, before the news about your time in Southern California and the background and the training you had to become a journalist. And it sounds like it really prepared you for this line of work.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, as I think a lot of people that are in any kind of creative field, you get as prepared as you think you could possibly get. And then you get to trying to apply for full-time jobs, and that just gets, you hear the ever, no, sorry, no.
Yeah.
And I got really good advice from someone who actually rejected me for a job. And I said, well, what would you suggest I do? Because all of it was the same. It was, we need more experience. And she said, just start planting seeds and see what grows, which was fantastic advice. And that's how I became a freelance journalist. And it ended up being the best thing ever. I got to write arts and culture for the Isthmus. I wrote food for the Cap Times, and then I did arts and entertainment for AWN. It was it was kind of a dream.
So, all right. I want to start there. I'm fascinated, and we haven't talked about it hardly at all on this show. We do have Arthur Ursink on the show Thursday, who created Wisconsin Foodie. He's been on the show before, but other than that, I don't think we've really done a deep dive on food. So you write about food. I find that interesting. What are your qualifications? Honest to God, and I don't mean that in a
being hungry.
So you starve yourself, you go to a restaurant, you get a free meal, and you write an article.
We do a nice fast a day before. Yeah, it's a good time.
That sounds, and you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that is how you prepare. Like, how do you write about food? Do you have to have chef-type knowledge, or do you just go, I like this? I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start.
I think you just have to be curious. You have to know what questions to ask. I think that's, I had written about food at different internships that I'd had in San Diego. And San Diego was a great place to learn about good food. So that was the other great thing, is coming from there to coming from San Diego to Madison. You learn about really good food, and we've got some really good Mexican food here in Madison. We've got really good Asian food, and that's a huge staple in San Diego as well. So that prepared me a bit. But honestly, just being curious about what they're making. Like if you're approaching it like someone who's just fascinated by food and desperate to learn what makes it special, desperate to learn people's backstories about how they got into food, because that's a lot of what I do too. Is it's not just, we're not reviewing the food, we're learning why these people are making it in the first place.
So, but when you eat it, are you breaking down the taste, what you like about it? Like, I feel like I would never be like, I've eaten in my share of nice restaurants, but I don't know if I'd be any more qualified. Like a lot of film critics tried to make films. They have some knowledge, whatever, but food just baffles me. So how do you go about that? Let's say you have a great steak and a nice potato. How are you breaking that down? The steak was good.
Steak and potatoes.
It was juicy, or what?
Yeah, like how it's seasoned. Like how is it seasoned? How do you cook it? How long?
Yeah.
Because like some people like their steak bleeding. Some people like it dry as the desert. And I think asking people, how do you find that nice line that invites everybody in, so everybody wants a bite of the steak? A lot of it's seasoning. That's like my favorite question to ask people is, how do you season it? What do you season it with? Because some people have really funny home tricks that they don't always share it with me, but sometimes they have good tricks up their sleeve, and that's the best stuff.
Because it's funny, that the meat or a protein, whether it's fish, chicken, steak, it's all bland without whatever you put on it. Like the sides are always tastier until you actually season or marinate something, and that would probably be the only thing I would be qualified to ask. Did you put wishbone?
Yes.
Italian dressing on? Like what?
Exactly. Well, I'll give you a really good example actually with an article I have actually coming up.
Oh, cool.
A good example of my favorite kind of things to write about with the Cap Times is I'm doing an article on this vegan bakery, and it's 1146 vegan. And she was telling me how she makes her own vanilla. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And she says, yeah, it's I've never heard this phrase in my life. She goes, it's beaver butt juice free. I'm like, what?
What?
I need you to say that again and explain to me exactly what you're talking about.
And
I
thank
guess,
God.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I'm relieved, first of all, but also what? And I guess that's a way that it's like a cheap way to get a vanilla flavor. And I haven't Googled this extensively yet because I'm writing the article this week, but that's a really good example of like the things that you learn talking to people and how they make their own stuff and why they make their own stuff, because apparently people are out there squeezing beaver butts to get vanilla flavoring, which is just disturbing. So I mean, that's kind of the underbelly of writing about food.
The ugly side.
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely inappropriate too. I mean, let's be honest. What do you have a favorite food you like to write about?
I do love writing. I mean, anything with the bakeries I love because I mean, you get to eat cake for your job. I mean, there's very few things that are better than that. I do love writing about like anything with pasta or noodles because it's really fun getting to watch people make it. And kind of learning all the techniques. And the same goes for alcohol. Like when you're writing about different alcohol companies, learning how they make things. Like I did an article on Black Rose blending here in Madison, and they were experimenting with different barrels that had different flavorings that were already stuck in the barrel when they were making their beers.
Oh, nice.
So learning about that whole fermentation process. So I'd say alcohol, pasta, and bakery. Which is the winning trifecta.
That sounds like a nutty night out on the town. That sounds great.
Sometimes it is.
What do you do when you have let's say you don't like what you've been served, and let's say it's awful. I remember when I was a comedian, I was working at the Laugh Factory outside Chicago, and this guy just opened up a restaurant, and he looked like the least ethnic person ever. He looked whiter than me, and he said, it was an Italian restaurant, and he said, well, I'm really proud of my sauces. You got to try my sauces. So he brings me this plate. It was the most bland food I've ever. I'm like, this is what you're banking on? And he was out of business within 6 months. Like, what do? You don't want to hurt anybody's livelihood. But how do you approach that if food just isn't good?
And that's where I think we lean into more of the backstory of a person. I've been, I think, fortunate. I mean, truly, and I'm not blowing smoke. I've come across service that's a little questionable where you're waiting a long time for things.
Yeah.
And you're wondering how good it's going to be. And it's been incredible. So I've been very fortunate that there is nothing that I've tasted so far that I haven't liked. I mean, I'm knocking, knock on wood, because now I've jinxed myself. But I've had it where you're kind of, you walk in and you're like, I don't know. And you're not really sure what you're gonna ask. Like if there wasn't a lot of research I could do beforehand, if they just didn't have a huge presence on the internet before, and you're kind of winging it. That can be a bit scary, but so far I've only had good experiences. Which is,
do you ever get embarrassed to ask for the salt?
Yes, I do, because my husband's also, he loves to cook. I think if he hadn't gone into the Marines, he would have gone to Le Cordon Bleu.
Oh wow!
He and his whole family love to cook. Actually, he and his brother are both major cooks, and me and the sister-in-law don't go near the kitchen, which is ironic because of what I write about. But it's, he's told me how much of an insult it is to ask for salt, so I get nervous. For sure.
I either have to enjoy this or, like at
Right.
a restaurant, especially, it's like I'm not paying $100 to be depressed. Right? Give me the damn salt. My guest is Victoria Davis. She writes for the Capital Times, and she's an award-winning freelance writer. She writes about food, theater, the arts, kind of covers it all. All right, one more food question for you, then I want to move on to like some entertainment stuff, but not that food isn't entertainment, but is there a restaurant in Madison or in Wisconsin where when you think of it and you're hungry, your mouth literally starts to water?
Oh my God. There's so many. I've gotten the privilege of interviewing so many people.
Or type of food. You can go that route too.
You know what? Yes, there. This is weird because I am not an escargot. If you were to say, "Oh, what are you really craving today?" Snails would not be at the top of the list.
Ooh, wow. Yeah.
But I did an article on this restaurant in Madison. The name is escaping me, which I'm embarrassed to say. I will look it up and get it to you before the end of the show. But they had incredible escargot, so much so that I wanted seconds. And Cap Times was paying, so I didn't ask for seconds. But it was I quickly went back afterwards with my husband for a date night because it was so good. They just it was so much butter and so much garlic and quite a bit of salt.
Oh, wow.
And it was delicious. So that's I think the first thing that really comes to mind, which is crazy. But yeah, I will get the name of that before.
You can never have enough garlic for me. I will eat when I say extra garlic, and I'll say to the waitress, whatever you're thinking is extra garlic, double that.
Yes.
And then double that, But there's a couple places in Madison, Maharini once I went into, and I couldn't even, I was drooling. Like, I felt like a dog. Like, I went in there and I was so hungry, and the food is so good. It's just certain foods do that to you.
It's true.
What is new in the entertainment? What's going on in Madison culturally that you could recommend, like whether it's theater or the independent film scene? Have you written about any of that stuff recently?
It's funny, the film scene I haven't gotten a chance to write about because I was deep in the art, the sort of the visual arts, like the theater and music when I started out with Isthmus, and kind of miscellaneous events going on as well. And around the time that I started, quite a lot of theaters and independent film festival stuff was closing.
Right.
And that was really tragic, and I was really upset about that. But we are very fortunate in Madison that there's such an abundant theater community, and that we have multiple theaters. Obviously there's the large Orpheum, but then you've got the Bartel as well. Yeah. We have a really cool hub for that here. And I'm actually on Friday this week, I'm actually going to review a play in I believe it's Spring Green or Green Spring. Hang on, where is that?
Is it
yes.
American Players, maybe?
It's the they're doing Henry Clark. It's a one-man show, and I'm trying to remember the name of the it's Two Crows. Two Crows is putting on kind of their rendition of the one man play, Harry Clark, which actually was first done by Billy Crudup. From Big Fish. And so that's at the Slowpoke Lounge and Cabaret. So I'm going there on Friday to review that, which I'm really excited about. But then we've also got a really cool comedy scene as well here in Madison. That's another thing that I tend to get drawn toward. And sometimes they go hand in hand. You get comedies and improv shows and things like that.
Listen, you could probably mix and match food reviews with a theater review. Like, it was a juicy steak.
I could. I really could. Really sink my teeth into this one.
All right, we'll have a couple more minutes with Victoria Davis after a very short break. Great to have you with me on this Monday night on Night Light with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
That's what you get for waking up in Vegas. Why are these lights so bright? Did we get hitched last night? Dressed up like Elvis. Why am I wearing your class ring? Don't call your mother, 'cause now we're partners in crime. Don't be a baby, remember what you told me. Shut up and put your money where your mouth is. That's what you get for waking up in Vegas. Get up and shake the glitter off your clothes now. That's what you get for waking up in Vegas.
Bar to Bay Settlement, 97.9 WGBW.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. The beginning of the year means a new session for the Wisconsin State Legislature. Members of the State Senate and State Assembly were sworn into office on Monday, January 6th. There are a lot of new faces in that group, with 6 new members in the State Senate and 31 new representatives in the State Assembly. While Republicans will remain in the majority, that majority is now the smallest it has been in more than a decade. The days of the GOP's supermajority are over. After last year's elections under new, fairer maps, we'll see if those smaller majorities lead to more compromise in a legislature that's been dominated by the right for nearly 15 years. Just a handful of seats make the difference now between a Republican and Democratic majority, and there are many more opportunities now to bring accountability to legislators, especially those in competitive districts. And in a healthy democracy, that's the way things should be.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us. The Todd Alba Show.
Donald J. Trump has been officially certified the winner of the 2024 election the way that the Constitution dictates. You see how simple that is? There's a vote, you certify the results, democracy moves on. You might not like the results. The person I wanted to have elected didn't win, but that's the way democracy works. Unlike 4 years ago on January 6th, where rioters stormed the Capitol.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Matt Nair on Air.
It is our 1 year anniversary here on Matt Nair on Air. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, for being on this journey with me. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. I can't speak for Calvin.
I'm always thrilled to be here.
Unbridled.
The enthusiasm
enjoyment.
brimming over from you, Calvin. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you.
Matt Nair.
Tomorrow night on Night Light, I welcome Sherry Stoka, nutritionist, a Milwaukee-based nutritionist. We'll talk to her about, I guess we are talking about food more on the show because we have Arthur Ursink from Wisconsin Foodie here on Thursday. Apparently, this is all of a sudden the Food Network Congress. I almost called you Congress. We could add that to the list.
Night food or
night food?
Food Light?
Yeah, sure. And then Eric and Adam are here from Ask Your Mother tomorrow night. They're going to rock the studio on Wednesday night. Director Anders Lindell, who made the film Green and Gold with Brandon Sklenar, and Craig T. Nelson will be on the show at 7:20. So fun guests this week here on Night Light, and hope you can join us. We on the stream, Elizabeth says, and double that garlic. So I don't know how you feel about garlic, Victoria, but garlic has its fans. I
can never have enough. Can never have
agree.
enough. Also, the restaurant is Lalande. That's the restaurant.
Okay.
Yes.
I've heard of
If
that.
you're going to Lalande, even if you have never tried escargot or snails, or even have tried bad escargot and snails, like redeem your experience at Lalande. It's
Okay.
so good.
It's been a while for me. I go down there about once a month for my PBS gig, so I'll probably actually check that out.
Definitely.
Tom from New Orleans says, "Way to pull up classic REM." Oh, he liked your intro and outro music, Conrad. Well done.
Thanks,
He
Tom.
says, thanks, guys. And I got a text from Steady Eddie, but it's like as long as a newspaper article. And I know that Victoria only has the house to herself for a limited amount of time tonight. So let's. So all right, Victoria, you had the opportunity, I saw in your bio, to interview Angela Kinsey, who played Angela from The Office.
We
talk about
did.
movies and TV a lot on this show. What kind of questions did you ask her, and how was that interview? Was that fun?
That was fun. That I had done for, there was a kind of a third party, because I was working for Hidden Remote at the time. And there was a third party that was like, we'll give you this interview. But there was other stuff that they were kind of advertising at the same time. So I got like 5 minutes to talk to her. But she was lovely. And that was many years ago. So I'm struggling to remember. I do remember we talked about her kids, which I think is such a fun thing. I've had really good experiences ever since I mean, that was before I became a mom, but from that point to especially now, talking with celebrities about their kids is like one of the greatest things in the world. And they just open up to you about it. Like everyone wants to talk about their kids, no matter what job you got. That seems to be the fun one that everyone really enjoys. So she was talking about her kids. That interview is actually on my website if people wanted to go check it out.
Oh, very cool. And that's so true. Like when, they've heard all the questions about, show business and this, and they can almost be a little guarded, but when you steer them towards something that is a more universal experience, that's really interesting observation. And you also wrote about Amanda Brinkman and Ty Pennington from the Small Business Revolution.
Yes.
That's important to me because they were in Marinette several years ago, where I live now, and they were considering Marinette to be a show that a town that they showcased on the Small Business Revolution. Ultimately, they came to town. They seemed pretty cool, but they had this big reception. Seemed genuine, but what did you think about it? Was your experience with them good? Positive?
They were awesome, and they had such a great dynamic. I remember laughing a lot talking with them, which is such a fun thing. And I talked to them twice. For 2 seasons, I believe. I believe it was season 1 and season 2. And they were just having a good time, excited to talk to me. I had a similar experience when I interviewed the Critical Role people. They were having fun. And that's the best kind of interviews, is when it's 2 friends sitting in the same place talking to an interviewer. With our interview too, it was just like a conversation, and that's honestly what I try to do as much as possible. Is just.
You mean you and me?
Yeah.
When you did the article,
when you and I talked, it was very much a conversation.
Right.
And that's sometimes you get limited time. You get 5 minutes, and you have to kind of bullet point your questions. But sometimes it just flows really well. I remember laughing a lot in that interview.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I agree. I think you said I need 15 minutes or something. We ended up talking for like well over a half an hour. And then we went bowling. We joined a social club. But anyway, it was, yeah, I agree. And it's fun when you connect, and especially in the radio, I do this a lot. And then I'm up against commercial breaks and I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying this interview. But that's good to know about them because they were in Marinette and everybody liked them. But when Marinette didn't get chosen, some people were kind of like, well, they were so nice to our I'm like, there was 10 other cities. Like,
would you rather they be mean to you? I mean,
they don't like you personally.
I know that's the hard part about those shows.
So, Victoria, we have about a minute left. Are you watching anything you could recommend? Binge watching anything?
Yes.
Seeing anything in the theaters?
Yes,
Lay it on me.
I just finished watching. It's a funny recommendation, kind of out of the blue, but it's on Netflix. It's a South Korean drama called "It's Okay to Not Be Okay," and it's a very fascinating. It's live action, but it's got a lot of good animation kind of woven into it, and it talks about mental disabilities, trauma, relationships within having mental disabilities and trauma, and it's fascinating. And if we want to tie that back to Madison, if people want to go watch that show and then listen to people talk about the same subjects here in Madison, at the Gamma Ray Bar, Nate, Chappell, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, is gathering an all autistic slate of comedians to debunk misconceptions about autism, which is exactly what that show talks about. So go see that show and then pop some popcorn and watch It's Okay to Not Be Okay on Netflix, because then you're in for a wild night.
That is a recommendation. That is worth 2 recommendations.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. Hey, this was fun, Victoria. Let's do this more often. It was great having you on. Enjoy the last of your quiet time.
Thank you so much, Pete.
Daddy-daughter night ends, but that's sounds like you got a good thing going there. Thanks so much and have a great night.
Thank you. You as well.
You're welcome. Steady Eddie. Oh my gosh, we got to get to Steady Eddie. He says, "Hi Pete. I remember the Bucks in their beginning, and I was big into basketball, and I love the Bucks. The Bucks radio play-by-play guy had nicknames for the Bucks players like the Cement Maker, Mixer, the Greyhound, Cowboy, Gentleman John, the Electric Eye, King Kareem. I myself did some serious balling back then. Sometimes I'll tell you and your listeners about my perfect game in the hardwoods. On one magical day, I was 5 for 5 from the field. We're not going to finish this, are we? We're going to leave the show tomorrow night with Steady Eddie's text. We ran out of time. I'm sorry, Steady Eddie. This is a gem, though. I'm going to start tomorrow night's show with this. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Good night, Wisconsin.